Some things are impossible to know, but it is impossible to know these things.
Hello, good day, and welcome to
Paul Schindler, podcast on things is here for you.
Not surprisingly, I'm your host, Paul Schindler. Thank you for listening. Here's a life hack. My PJs, athletic shorts, and pullover shirts have a front and back, of course, but it's hard to tell one side from the other until you put them on. You'd think I'd get it right half the time, but no. So I've learned that washing instruction tags are always on the left, which means I know how to put my clothes on the right way the first time. You can too. The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote that. One of the ways I used that quote was to describe Thomas Jefferson, who was the guiding spirit behind the Declaration of Independence, while at the same time owning slaves. He held these two opposed ideas in his head and retained his ability to function. President Kennedy certainly thought Jefferson could function. At a White House ceremony with a group of Nobel Prize winners, President Kennedy said, "I think this is the most extraordinary collection of talent, of human knowledge that has ever been gathered together at the White House, with the possible exception of when Thomas Jefferson dined alone." I carry constructs of other people inside my head. I'll bet you do too. I can hear my mom and dad, Dad's mom, Gert, Dr. Swenson, who ran my high school radio station, Edwin Diamond, my college mentor, Don Davis, my UPI bureau chief, Phil Adamsack, my Oregon Journal boss, college friends too numerous to mention, including Barb Moore, Clark Smith, Kevin Sullivan, and Sandy Yelke. Plus, every woman I've ever loved is in there somewhere too. Many people who are music adjacent use the term one-hit wonders in a derisive way. I no longer subscribe to that view. One-hit wonders are, I'm sure, proud of their one hit. It's one more hit than I will ever have. Money aside, the wonders touched millions of lives, bringing joy, sorrow, or laughter, and they left behind a few small slivers of themselves that will stick in all those memories until death, since songs are the last memories to go. I have experienced the tiniest fraction of that feeling. I'm embedded in the memories of 1,000 eighth graders who learned U.S. history from me. Anecdotal evidence indicates they were moved by the experience and unlikely to forget it. Following up on last week, here's a few more pieces of advice from the now defunct Washington Post Style Invitational. People who avoid their own feelings will neglect yours. Attend funerals for relatives of people you don't know really well. It's the kindest thing you can do for an acquaintance. Stop thinking about your problems and make someone else happy. Instead of trying harder, try softer. Everything is better after you stretch. If you're going to procrastinate, do something you enjoy. Nothing is ever as good as you think it will be or as bad as you fear. Don't be the one to tell yourself no. I made a note to myself, do a short item on the length of the podcast. Any listener who knows me will not be surprised it turned long, like everything I write. What's with the 10-minute length of this podcast? More than half a century ago, I was a master control operator at a TV station. I doubt there are many industries as time-obsessed as broadcast television. The network handed it over at 28:30. You returned precisely at the top of the hour. Miss either end, and you were in serious trouble. As a result, television stations were among the very last subscribers to the Time service, a 19th century Western Union product. At precisely the top of every hour, the National Observatory sent out a tone via telegraph, as close to the speed of light as makes no never mind. That tone was used to reset the hands of every clock in a subscribing building. In order to join the television network on time, every program, live or pre-taped, had to be exactly 28 minutes and 30 seconds long. It's kind of like making a podcast exactly 10 minutes long. Before I walk off, since none of you have asked, here's an explanation of the seemingly random "that's my opinion, I'm Paul Schindler" statement coming up in a moment. From 1983 to 1992, that was my catchphrase on the public TV show Computer Chronicles. I said, "That's my opinion, I'm Paul Schindler," about 130 times after my minute-long software reviews. Just as my print column is a nod to its start in 1970, I'm using my catchphrase as a tip of the podcast hat to 1983. Now, a little walk-off humor. Cartoonist Tom Gould brilliantly lampooned a snotty bookstore owner with this caption. Yes, we do have a copy of the book you're looking for. You'll find it in the vastly overrated section of the so-called classic department. Now some computer humor from before the internet. Hackery-dackery duck. The stupid mouse is stuck. It can't pick and it can't click. Hickory-dackery duck. This week's walk-off music is the electronic dance music version of If Offered a Choice. EDM is not a genre I would have thought of myself, but my younger daughter encouraged me to do a variety of versions, which I have. She also helped edit this selection by suggesting a mic drop. That's my opinion. I'm Paul Schindler. Thanks for listening.
Reincarnation, I'd be surprised if we're offered choices about other lives. Where we end up, not ours to say, when time comes for another day. If you're offered a choice, please pick me again. If you're offered a choice, please pick me again. But in case you're ever asked, I'd be pleased knowing you chose to dance with me again. So I hope that you will do the very thing that I plan to. Raise your voice if offered a choice. If you're offered a choice, please pick me again. Please pick me again. Again. Please pick me again. If you're offered a choice, please pick me again.